Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ryan with Fearless Fantasy, and this is Fantasy Football Commissioner Tips and Rule Change Ideas you must consider for 2023. Okay, so the first commissioner tips are going to be related to the draft, and the first one is being draw the draft order at least 2 weeks before the draft. I know this seems like common sense, but there's so many leagues out there, and even leagues I'm in today and I've been in for years, where they don't do the draft order until the day of the draft. So if it's a live draft, everyone arrives, and an hour before we're drawing names out of a hat, or if it's a online draft, we don't know what our draft order position is going to be until we enter the draft room 30 minutes before. This just makes for a super inefficient and really unenjoyable experience for you and your league mates, because it forces you, when you're preparing for the draft, to mock draft or prepare for several different positions, even though you're only going to be in one position. It also gives everyone an adequate enough time to prepare as much as they want. So the people who are putting in the most time preparing for the draft are going to have the highest chance of winning your league. The second draft tip is to allow draft pick trading. So I'm implementing this in one of my leagues that I've been a commissioner for about 4 years for the first time. So I have not done this yet, but my brother is in a work league that they've been doing this for years. He's been in the league for 5 years, and he was telling me about it, and I don't see a negative to it, because ultimately, if you don't want to switch a draft order, you don't have to. But let's say some of your league mates are unhappy where they were positioned in the draft. Someone got 2 and they wanted 12, and maybe someone else had 10 and they wanted an earlier pick. Your league mates can reach out to each other and switch their draft order if they want to. And again, it doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't really help anybody. It just makes for a better experience for your league mates. If they wanted a better, different draft position, they have an opportunity to do that. The only thing that I will say could be a negative is just making sure the order is set at least a week before the draft, and everyone knows where everyone else is going to be drafting. The next tip is going to be a rule change idea, and that's going to be league median scoring. I know this is becoming very hot over the last couple years. We just implemented it last year, and if I would tell you to do one thing and make one change in your league, it would be to add in this league median scoring. It is a great way to improve fantasy football experience in general. It takes out some of that luck factor that happens in head-to-head, where you had an insane week, you scored an absurd amount of points, and someone you happen to be playing scored even more, and you guys were the 2 top scorers for the week, and you still ended up with a loss. So to clarify what league median scoring is you can get a total of 2 wins per week. It's your standard head-to-head. That's normal in redraft. But then you also get to play against the league median, whereas if you finish top 6 scoring for the week, you get another win. So it's your head-to-head, and then your top 6 or bottom 6 in scoring. If you score bottom 6, you'll take a loss. So you have a chance to either finish 2-0 for the week, 1-1, or 0-2. The only negative right now to league median scoring is that it's only available on the Sleeper app. So if you're on Yahoo or ESPN, you're not going to be able to implement this. You would have to make the switch over to Sleeper. I'm hoping that those apps add that within the next couple years or so, because I think it will be the new standard for fantasy football. I'm actually going to pull this up because our league is a great testament to why this works and how great it is, and takes out some of that, again, randomness of fantasy football. If you look, you can see all the guys who had high points for ended up finishing in the top 6 and making the playoffs, and all the guys who didn't ended up not making the playoffs. So basically what league median scoring did for us this year, not saying it's a guarantee, but everyone of the teams that deserved to make the playoffs did, and all the ones that didn't did not make the playoffs. So it really is a great way to add more skill, I would say, into fantasy football, and take out some of that luck factor. So the best managers with the best teams are making the playoffs. This next rule change is for just standard redraft, 12 team, 10 team, 8 team leagues, would be to not necessarily switch to a keeper league, but maybe to add in 1 or 2 keepers and kind of see how it goes. But there's a really great way to add in keepers and throw in a different element to your league without switching to a full-on keeper league. Me personally, I don't really like keeper leagues because I really enjoy the draft and having all those players available, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. So I want all the best players being in the draft and studying accordingly. So some ideas I've had for that, and some ideas I've seen because I've done a lot of research on this, is to add 1 or 2 keepers, but only allow keeper eligible players from round 9 through 15. So it's not your stud players that are being kept, it's sleepers throughout the year. It really adds another good, first of all, good element to the end of your drafts, to where you're not just, throwing darts for certain players. You're actually trying to pick players that are going to be good for this year, but also taking into account next year. The next tips are going to be regarding waiver, specifically the FAB waiver system. If you don't do FAB right now and you're just doing standard normal waivers that are on ESPN or Yahoo, the rolling waivers, I highly suggest doing a lot of research on FAB and making the switch, because it is by far the most fair and most fun way to do the waiver system. So I'm not going to talk about the FAB waiver system as a whole. I'm just going to give a few tips for those that are already in FAB. But there's a ton of content out there, so you guys can go check that out. Or if you do really have questions about it, leave a comment below and I will try to help you out. So the first one would be to allow trading of FAB. So this really helps with trades that are like right on the brink of being even. If someone offers me a trade and it's like really close, and maybe them throwing in 10 or 20 FAB is going to get it over the hump. It really helps with balancing out some trades that happen during your league. The next one, I'm going to show an example of the league that I'm in now, but it's to keep waivers locked and do 2 separate waiver runs throughout the week. So most leagues do it now, even with standard waiver system. They have waivers run on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then after that, everyone is a free agent throughout the rest of the week and can be picked up and dropped at any time. The reason I don't like to have waivers open throughout the week is once the waivers run, it's basically first come, first served to who sees the news of player updates and stuff like that. And some people may like that, but I personally don't. People obviously have jobs, and sometimes, people aren't looking at their phones, and it's kind of just like luck of the draw as who gets to see it first. So an example of that, let's say in week 2 this year, Bijan Robinson is questionable for the game on Sunday, and it's Friday night. Waivers have run for you either Tuesday or Wednesday, and the Thursday game's played, and now waivers are open. And on Saturday morning, the Falcons tweet that he's doubtful to play, and Tyler Allgeier's sitting on the waivers and hasn't been picked up. Basically, whoever saw that news first is going to get to Tyler Allgeier. And I just don't like that personally, because it really forces your league mates to kind of have pressure of always being aware of what's going on and have their notifications on and being stressed out of who's going to play or who's not going to play. When you lock the waivers and just have 2 runs, it really simplifies it down to, Tuesday or Wednesday when they run, your league mates can sit down and take a look at what they want to do, and then they can do the same thing on Saturday. Okay, so I'm pulling up my Sleeper app now. This is how I do the waivers. I have the waiver processing time set at 11 p.m. So I'll have them run waivers run 11 p.m. on Wednesday night, and then once those waivers go through, the waivers will relock for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 11. Then we'll have another waiver run to make up for all those. Hopefully the updates of the injuries have all happened and everyone got a chance to look at what they want to do for the next waiver run. And then Sunday morning is when everyone will be a free agent. So those last minute players, if they're playing or not, everyone's going to be free agents. So everyone still has an opportunity to make those changes without having to rely on waiver runs. But it's just only Sunday morning are when the waivers are open. Okay, so the last commissioner tips are just going to be some fun, intricate stuff you can add into your league to make the league more enjoyable and get more engagement from your league mates. So I'll go through those here. So the first one is weekly reports. I do this after every week. It's just a quick recap of what's happened. Again, you can make this as short as long as you want. You can only highlight like specific matchups, some that were interesting, some that came down to the wire, or you can list them all, kind of just depending however you want to do it, however much time you want to spend on it, and also just the feel of your league and how your league mates are. So here's an example of one that I did. This was 2 years ago. This was week 1, so of course I got a little type happy on this one because I was excited for the season. But here's just kind of an example of what I do on a weekly basis for my league, and then I will just post it copy this and post it in the sleeper chat. The next one is to create a draft video. So 2 years ago, I kind of just did a fun little video of, normal at NBA or NFL draft on the podium and stuff, and just picking the draft order. So that's kind of an idea that you could do for that one. Next one is assigning draft grades after the draft has been done. Don't rely on Yahoo and ESPN and Sleeper. They're automated systems. They're so vanilla, and most 99% of the time they're not even accurate. The last one would be to create a feedback survey at the end of the year. Here's an example of what I did last year for this. Just a quick, takes them 2 minutes to complete, but some either rule change ideas, or it gives people a chance to see what they like, don't like. If I had asked about payout structure, this was the first year we did league meeting scoring. Anything that you can think of that you would want to put in there, you can go ahead and do that, and get some good feedback from your league mates and make them feel like they're involved with the process and that you care about their opinions. So that will conclude this video for fantasy football commissioner tips and rule change ideas for 2023. Leave a comment below if you guys have any questions about anything discussed in the video, and also leave a like if you enjoy the content. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.